Hello, everyone, and welcome to the rest of the second day to the third day of my challenge series of spinning the wheel for the challenges here. And so I go and I start up the file for my challenge community here. And so we'll start with Squid here.
Who lived somewhere around here who was some kind of survivalist? I wonder if she made it this long.
And so here I actually go and I spin the wheel. And the first option, the first challenge that I got was no firearm. So I end up basically depositing anything that I have pretty much in terms of the firearms I got in the first part. And then I go and spin it again because I felt, why not? Let's see what else I can get. And I actually ended up getting no firearms again, 2 times in a row. And right there, I actually honestly thought I'd have the no backpack. But for the unarmed, what that means in this case is that basically I can't use any regular melee slot items or ranged items, whether it be sidearms or primary. And also, no ranged fits in that specific category as well. So just no firearms, no ranged at all, no crossbows, or, there's no crossbow only option in this case. And so I just have to use the close combat option because there's no way to actually do close combat without a close combat equip. It would actually be in the situation where the close combat item would be removed from their inventory and then you use something to bring them back. Then they won't have that item equipped and then they just won't be using a close combat item. But in the usual vanilla, there's just no way of doing it normally like that. So I continue spinning to see what other challenges I can actually stack on until I can actually gather more items. And one of the other goals for the series is to try to speedrun the plague hearts on the map rather than focusing on the legacy missions, since I already have my forever community where that will actually be one of the primary focuses of the Forever Community series. And so here I actually start with Squid. And as a recap, the difficulty for the combat is set to easy based off of the spinning wheel results. And then I also have, I think it was like easy, nightmare, lethal. So it would be the nightmare level for the community, and then the overall map difficulty itself is set to lethal. So I'll have the lethal difficulty of flag hearts on the map. So I'll have to around 28 to 30 here in Meager Valley. But also, maybe if I'm lucky, I'll be able to actually find some of the rare items here, even though the rare item stashes will probably not have any useful yields with the map difficulty being lethal. So the resources will actually be very scarce.
You know,
And so I actually ended up toggling the HUD off, and I took once I did that, I accidentally ended up actually hitting the kitchen itself instead of our other character
Hey, yo.
here, because there's no hood, so you don't see any of the indicators at all. So the only way to check something
Maybe
like
we ought to huddle up and make a plan.
your HP
'Cause
or your
whatever we got ain't
stamina
working.
will be basically looking at the character menu with the default U key if you're playing on PC. And then the only other way to check your actual infection level will be if you have an infirmary built into your base. Then you hit the default B key and you can check if you're infected and to what extent. As you will see a little bit later on to actually, I think all three of my characters at one point get an infection, but they don't get the full blood plague. So fortunately, that actually worked to my favor in this case, because there were some instances where I wasn't actually able to get a successful grapple on some of the zombies. So I end up actually kind of rebounding off
We
of
got a
them.
favor to
And
ask.
then if I try to dodge, sometimes I just end up getting swiped by a zombie, or I just get a single graze. And that was already enough to actually contract a minor infection, like very, very minor. And it also didn't spread too intensely. So I think that had to do with the easy difficulty for combat. So the infection actually
Better keep
spread
my
very
distance from that
slowly,
screamer.
which I guess in this case worked to my favor despite the random factor. And here I actually saw the feral, so I tried to actually avoid the feral initially here, only because trying to do close combat with it with no HUD would actually be a little bit more challenging, and no ranged items. And he's still not quite built for close combat yet. He would be, since didn't, he wasn't able to actually get any of the good stealth skills yet, or so far. So now I had to actually gear him towards maybe being just stealthy normally by just crouching and using a crossbow, for example, if I'm able to.
Damn. 2 seconds of
And
plague
so I'll just have to
territory
wait
and
to
I'm
see
already
what
sweating.
he's able to branch off into for the fighting and shooting skill track. And then to be able to see what I'm
I have another
actually
task for you.
able to get him
Details
for
forthcoming.
his
There's
fifth
just no
skill.
securing a place this close to a plague heart.
And I'm thinking maybe unless I can find somebody on the map or in a future map where they have any kind of crafting skill in terms of munitions. Otherwise, I guess I'll like crafting and or chemistry for munitions, just to see who can craft what. But I don't think I'm going to make Squid a medical type of character. So I'm just going to wait it out to see what books I can get or what skills I can actually teach him from an outpost, if possible. And so we'll get right into the action yet again. And I may only have one more video that I can actually do for the series, since I'll actually be away for a couple days. So I'll have some videos out. I might even go and play some other games on the channel and introduce a new game. Maybe I'll have that scheduled for Friday. And then I also will have one more video of Alt pretty much going around Meager Valley on easy, just for the sake
I
of...
keep hearing about communities out there working on big projects. That kind of news, it keeps me going. Thank you all so much.
Go around Meager Valley just for the sake of farming some of the rare items in the area. So you'll see that probably tomorrow on Thursday, or that would be the part that I upload today. So it'll be either today or tomorrow, depending on ordering of the videos. And then we'll just see where things go from there. And pretty sure it'll just be a very interesting experience for sure. And then here I'm actually getting Squid to try to get some of the bearings, but with the HUD off. As you can see, there's no way to actually see any of the locations, even when I zoom in. So there's nothing to actually focus on. You don't see what's actually been located. So that's one of the other challenges there. And I think that was the initial tower that I had to check first anyways. So all the locations were already probably discovered. And then I decided to go and do some more resource gathering, especially for the meds, so that he would be able to actually eliminate the under the weather curveball, which actually can make resource generation a little bit more challenging. So it's like one of the more like the kind of curveballs like this that restrict the resource generation actually can make the overall condition of a community more challenging, especially in lethal zone. So, but at least in this case, well, even though I have the community difficulty set to nightmare mode, so it'll be comparable to how it is in nightmare zone for the community aspect. So overall, I have the map difficulty of lethal zone. I have the community difficulty of nightmare zone, but I ended up getting the combat difficulty of basically green zone, just based on the random factor. And that is something that will change every time I end up clearing the map. But the main goals for this challenge will be to pretty much showcase and demonstrate what the varying degrees of challenge and difficulty can be
Yo, I got a fucking problem over here.
presented.
Our neighbors just stole every scrap of medicine we had. How are we supposed to put up with this bullshit?
Well, here goes nothing. What this town needs is law and order. We can't stand by and watch bullshit like this happen.
I've got a plan that could pay off big.
And one of the things that, as I mentioned earlier, one of the things that I won't necessarily be focusing on too much for this particular challenge is not the legacy quests, since I already have my forever community pretty much devoted to that, as well as clearing the map of all the plague hearts, which is already going to be one of the primary focuses of the forever community, as well as trying to get some more unique characters into the forever community. So I'll probably be I'll keep Celine, Alt, and Bella, who are my sheriff, my warlord, and my builder heroes. And then I pretty much will have to try to get a red talent operator who is hopefully going to be able to be a trader if they have it. And then I'll also just try to bring in some unique and maybe even familiar faces back into the forever community from other sources. And then I will pretty much just try to use this challenge to demonstrate the different challenges that can be presented with the custom map settings, so to speak, at the very beginning. And then since I already am doing Meager Valley here, I'll see what I can get from the rare stashes. And then, so that will probably be one of the things that I can go and do. I'll try to get a vehicle up and running soon. And then I will try to focus on the rare weapon route, since I was able to
You ready to do this?
get it
Sure.
pretty much fresh in my mind today. And then I will try to focus on speedrunning the clearing of the plague hearts in for this, even though it'll be lethal zone level of plague hearts.
Or mechanics. I'm teaching.
So I'll have the number of plague hearts from lethal zone, but they will have the difficulty of green zone. So it'll actually,
Time me.
I think it'll actually make it, it'll make clearing the plague hearts a
You're
lot
like
faster,
car mechanic or something?
since they're not necessarily more difficult overall, aside from zombies will just come to the area regardless, and also the intensity of
You
which
interested in trading?
I
Sounds
actually will get infected if I get hit by the initial pulse from the plague heart.
Hey, I just delivered
Unless I actually get a black plague heart at one point, then that might actually make it more challenging. But in terms of it would also depend on the intensity of the negative kerbal settings at the time. So we'll see how that will go. But it'll certainly be a very interesting experience at that point. Or maybe it won't be that bad. Like, it could be the difference between having the default intensity of the black plague heart or having the highest intensity of the black plague heart. Because I remember in a past playthrough where I had initially gotten the black plague heart in a more standard difficulty and default difficulty for the black plague heart, I could be in the vicinity of influence from the black plague heart, and my HP wouldn't actually decrease passively at all. And then I also,
If I take out the nearest plague heart, this should
and then when
clear
I
up.
got it in lethal zone, well, I don't know if it's necessarily based on lethal zone, but based on the highest intensity of the Black Plague Heart when I had gotten it in lethal zone,
I appreciate
I
that.
actually would lose
good to see you.
HP passively, whether I'd be outside or even in a building. But I noticed that the HP would not decrease when I was in a vehicle. So
Oh,
there's
hey.
that to consider.
So,
But
we
then
want to
there's
dangerously low on
also
ammo.
the aspect of the vehicle actually potentially awakening plague hearts or attracting
How are ya?
zombies at the same time due to the noise generated. Unless you have like the
Hey, yo.
plague disruptor activated for about an hour and a half. So at least when you defeat the zombies, it won't immediately awaken a plague heart that way. And when you go defeating plague hearts to plague hearts, since some of them could actually be right next to each other, so
Finally,
like
just what I
defeating
need.
one wouldn't necessarily awaken another. And so that was like another very fortunate thing in that case. So in my forever community, that is one of the things that I had done initially to help clear the
No more
map of the
deadheads, but
plague
that won't
hearts
last
fairly
long in plague
quickly
territory.
during the hour and a half time span. And it's actually like if you have a vehicle and you can make your way around, you can actually clear the map fairly quickly in the hour and a half. Or if you actually are able
Nothing in
to
here.
activate the flag disruptor again, you get another hour and a half. So that's like another helpful feature of the radio tower outposts. So I would say out of the possible 7 outposts that a community can have, having at least one radio
Better
tower
keep my distance from that screamer.
outpost is a must have, unless you just want to have the challenge and not use the plague disruptor at all. And here I actually have Squid go and rest over at base to restore his stamina, and I end up switching places with Charlie, who I wanted to go and complete his quest for finding his aunt's house. And it actually turns out that his aunt's house is like his previous, well, his aunt's previous home is now being occupied by a group of 3 mechanics who actually want to go and set up an auto shop in town. So that will be something that'll be very interesting here. And so we'll see how that all transpires after he gets the initial note. And I'm not sure what the actual continuation of that mission is or the conclusion, since I only ever made it to that point, and then I don't know what happened after that.
Hey, kiddos. I'm back.
Hey, how you living?
And that was back in my forever community when I was trying to see who, like, I think it was with Bella actually, and she had this quote unquote aunt who, you know, fancied herself
Good
a
call.
survivalist. And then I don't know
Have
whatever
fun out there.
transpired of that.
Can't forget about that.
So I started off with Squid, and then I exchanged him with Charlie here, and then later on I go and exchange Charlie for No and Mai. And this is where I go to actually spin the wheel for the curveball settings for the remainder of the immediate day. And so I roll a 5, and what that means is between 1 and 5, I will actually, you see the notches, like never ranging all the way to continual and then positive only to negative only. So rather than have to have 2 separate wheels for that, I just use the more simplified number system, 1 through 5. So whichever number I land on will be 1 for never, 5 for continual, 1 for positive only, 5 for negative only. And then I had a separate wheel for the 3. So it would be, since they're both default strong, very strong, I could just do basically a 1 in 3 chance of landing on any of the 3. And so I just go with strong for the first, then it should be a 1 for default. So for the day, the negative effects of the negative curveballs will be default. And then I just go and accept that for the day. And here are the final results for the curveball settings for the day. So I have the strong positive effects, the default negative effects, and then for the frequency, it's continual and overall balanced. And then I'll go and see you at near the end of the video, and we can go and see more of the immediate action. So it'll actually be easier to hear the finer details of the game, especially when I had to actually be a bit more stealthy and sneakier. So it'll also make for a more immersive experience.
We need your help. I'm sure we can work something out, right?
Uh-oh.
And it's not something that I really want to talk over, especially for the more immersive moments of gameplay. So it's also something that's just more interesting to watch. I would say it's like, if I were the viewer, what my take on this is that I would actually like to see, and to hear the finer details of the game. So, as a viewer, I can be truly immersed, or even as immersed as the player themselves, especially when watching live streams.
If I take out the nearest plague heart, this should clear up. Man, I'm out of gas. As long as that plague heart is around, we can't really secure this place. I guess it's kinda useful. That's a lot of racket.
Get inside before you attract Zed.
Gotta kill the brain. Damn it, locked. Damn it, locked. Gotta be quieter. Can't do it. This will come in handy. Better get ready for the Z's. That's gotta be the place. You in here or what? Huh. Gotta stay frosty. Plague zombies all over the place. Next time I'll just use a fucking bullhorn. Guess that's it for this place.
Are you still making progress on that project we talked about?
Fuck yeah, found it. I found one of my aunt's prepper plans. It's in code, but if I decipher it, maybe I can find out where she went. Careful of the Zed. And I'm out of gas. for a doc to check.
Red Talon researchers hope to find humans who may be immune to the blood plague. If you encounter an individual suspected of immunity, please remand them to a Red Talon facility. Let me talk to you about something.
Yeah, sure. Huh. I gotta make this quick. Can't do it.
Could you help us finish up some construction?
For real?
Hello out there. I have some goodies to trade straight from Trumbull Valley. Come on by.
Fuck yeah, it's hurting! Don't let up! At a time like this, safety should be our biggest priority.
Some things you can bounce back from. This time, I don't know if we can.
Uh-oh. That ain't happening.
make this quick.
History. We're taking this town back, one piece at a time.
Oh yeah, I like that. Oh, cool. So what do folks think about sharing some stuff with the neighbors?
How about you swing by for a chat?
And here I'm having Noah Mai pick up the remaining plague samples around the area after he had completed and cleared the first plague heart on the map. And so that will be one of the ongoing challenges as well. That would be like speed running the map of the plague hearts will be the primary focus, aside from trying to complete some of the enclave missions kind of as side missions, and with a focus on resource gathering and trying to see what rare items I can get, even though with the lethal map difficulty, the resources as well as the rare items will be almost nearly non-existent. So we'll see how that goes here in Meager Valley, which is actually known as one of the easier places for farming the rare items, as the route that can be taken to actually farm the rare items is actually fairly effective and time efficient.
At least
And you can actually
here, right?
repeat the farming fairly easily and quickly. And then this is where I
Hello out
conclude.
there. My name is Ray Santos. You don't know me, but I'd like you to become my neighbor. Here in Trumbull Valley, we're looking for good folks willing to work hard to rebuild this land. If that sounds like you, then I suggest you pack up your stuff and join us here. There's plenty to live for in Trumbull Valley.
And here I will conclude the part for the day. And as always, take care and thank you for watching.